So we're here with head track and field coach Sarah Ingram, kind of going over, previewing the team's opening meet this weekend. It's Green and Gold weekend. Always a great time of year to kind of kick off the track season at home with alumni and just getting the season started. So, Coach, first off, just kind of tell us how excited you are to finally get the season kicked off.
Super excited. Athletes have put in a lot of work throughout the fall and early spring. We've done a lot of time trials and testing, and everybody's looking really good. So we're really excited just to be able to get out there and kind of have a rust buster and knock off the cobwebs. Try to get everybody to have a meet atmosphere, a little bit more pressure than we do at practice. But we also know that it's just another glorified practice, and we just want to get out there and get back to competition.
And talk about this, because I know this is always a weekend that's such a great, it kind of speaks to the tradition of this program, having alumni come back for this one, having community members that are passionate about this program come to the meet. Just kind of talk about that factor of it and just how cool that part of it is, just having a unique meet like that.
Absolutely. It's a really fun way to kick off the year. Track meets tend to be long and just, grueling events when they're 8 hours long. This is a really small event. It should be done in a morning and early afternoon, which makes it a little bit more fun because it's compact. And like you said, we've got our alumni coming back into town. We have community members that come out and jump into the events as well. So it makes it just a really fun kind of celebration of the sport. It's not just about peak performances for our athletes or anybody. It's just about loving the sport of track and field and getting out there and having some fun with it.
And yeah, talking about that too, I know this is always a meet where you talk about it kind of being a glorified practice, and you kind of see that in some of the meet events you have. I mean, instead of a 5,000, they're going to be running a 4,000 meter. Instead, they're going to running a lot of truncated distances. Just kind of talk about that and what you're looking for performance-wise, even though you know a lot of the distances and the events are going to be, a little different than they usually are when you get into the actual kind of meat of your season.
Yeah. Like you said, a lot of the running events are slightly shorter than they would be at a normal track meet. And it kind of goes along the lines of what an indoor type meet would be in terms of just the shorter distances. In terms of this time of season, we're just looking to get back into it. And having a little bit shorter distances, I think, allows them to really step up and really try to perform at their best. We're not as deep into the season. We're not necessarily looking for the same times and marks that we would be looking for in April and May. But we're just looking to continue our training that we've been doing and continue with basically time trials that are at these shorter distances and kind of getting the athletes ready physically, but also psychologically, getting up their confidence to be able to run those full race distances and just making sure that they're ready for that.
I have to ask, too, are we going to be seeing the log relay again this year at the end?
Absolutely. That's always the best way that we can kind of finish off the meet and kick off the season is just a really fun and goofy tradition that we do that 4x4 redwood log relay. And it's always really fun to see the tiniest people out there. The distance runners usually have the biggest redwood logs, and the bigger guys, the throwers, usually have the tiniest little sticks. Kind of evens out the playing field there, and it just makes it a really fun spectacle and a really fun event to take part in.
Awesome. And then, so just going to a little bit for me, I know you have a pretty young, almost kind of really new team this year. A lot of you and Tegan obviously have done a lot of work on the recruiting end. Just kind of talk about any performers you see going into the season that could be highlight performers. And I know you have a couple returners coming back, Grace Kasperger on the women's side, Joy Hano on the women's side, Grant Van Emmerich on the men's side that have all been all conference performers in the past for you. Just kind of talk about them and just kind of, what we can expect from the team this season and any breakout performances you're looking for.
Yeah, like you said, we've got a really young team overall. Coming out of those last COVID years, everybody just seems to have lots and lots of eligibility. So the majority of our team are freshmen or sophomores athletically, even if they're juniors or seniors or super seniors academically. So it's exciting to see the growth of the team and how young we are with the amount of talent that we have right now. I think we're going to end up having a really good season this year with the squad that we have. But I think the next 2 to 3 years is going to be really, really exciting as we see those athletes that are already a little bit older and more mature and have a little more experience. They're going to be in the program for some of them, their 6th year, a couple years down the road. And it's just going to be really exciting to see what they can do. In terms of top performers right now, you mentioned a few of those names, but Grant Van Emmerich on the guys' side, we're really hoping for him that he can have a healthy season. He battled a lot of injuries last year and is currently battling some minor injuries as well, but we're expecting him to be back in the next couple weeks. He's going to be sitting out Green of Gold, and hopefully going to be back in here for the next meet that we have down in Turlock. But we're hoping that he can hit that provisional national qualifying mark early on and then just work to keep improving it throughout the season. I know I'm going to forget people. So, overall on the men's side, I think we just have a lot more depth than we've had in years past. We've got a ton of freshmen, and that's both on the power side and the distance side as well. We've got a lot of young bodies that just need to get out there and get meet experience. But I think the first few meets are going to really show us kind of, who's really ready to step up and take that role as, the top dogs in the program. On the ladies' side, we've got returning conference champs, Joy Hano and Gracie Kasperger in the 100 hurdles and the heptathlon. Obviously, they're expected to have another really great year. Again, we're hoping that they'll be able to qualify for nationals and be able to, go to that really high-level meet at the end of the season. But it's a long ways from now. And right now, we just want to get them competing again, having fun, and working to improve their marks every weekend. Some other, top athletes that we're looking forward to seeing are Rosa Granados in the distances and Sadie Williamson. They're some of our top returners that I think we're expecting to do very well. And I don't want to name off our freshmen because we have so many, and I don't want to forget a bunch that are really talented. But come out and watch us. That's the best way that you'll be able to see.
Awesome. That's all I got.
Yeah, Coach, I just, my question just in general is, especially when you think about just kind of, I feel like track and field and still coming out of the COVID, I know you kind of were back on track last year, but of course track and field is all about peaking at the right time. It's about training and kind of leading to that peak, wherever that might be, depending on the athlete. But how do you, now that you're kind of still getting back into the groove of things, I don't know if it was fully, I guess last year was kind of the first year back. How do you kind of get back to where getting your athletes, and peak performance is a cliche, but getting it to where they're peaking at the right time to reach their potential?
Sure. We have a long training year. We train in the summertime in the off season. And we have a very periodized program, to set them up to be peaking at the right time in April and May. It's hard to really detail what that plan is in a quick question. But we've got a plan, and it's worked year after year. So I have no question that it's going to continue to work this year. And coming out of COVID, like you said, last year was a full year that we were back to normal training year-round, and we had a full season again. It wasn't a limited season. So I think at this point, the athletes, it shouldn't be a huge transition coming back into that full season. For those who were here in the program last year, they kind of went through that last year, and this is just another year to hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. And even for those freshmen, they were, for the most part, they were all able to have a full season last year in high school. Mm-hmm. So I'm fully expecting that they're going to be ready to go, and it's going to be a good track season.
And maybe just one other question I have is you've alluded kind of somewhere with the COVID thing, but just having extra people with extra experience. It seems like, I guess there's some high expectations or some high potential with people with extra eligibility to really maybe do some things. What does it take, I guess, for you to come at the end of the year and say this was a successful season?
A lot of things. I think for one, we're always looking for conference champions and all conference performers in the top 3. We're always looking for people to qualify and to go to nationals and compete well at the national level. Hopefully come away with All-American status. Those are the really objective, easy to define pieces of success that we're looking for. But the things that are harder to define that I think are really meaningful and fulfilling are just seeing the growth of the team as a whole, seeing the growth of individuals from the beginning of the season to the end of the season in terms of their progression, in terms of their performances, and seeing them grow as people in terms of their confidence and their poise, the way that they compete at a meet, the way that they approach their competition with aggression and intensity, but also with a cool, calm head because they have that experience and maturity. But seeing those kind of character things that we're looking for to grow and develop throughout the season, for me, that's another area that I really enjoy as a coach. And that's the kind of success that you can't really define it, but it's the most fulfilling in the end. When you get a finished product of an athlete who's had a really great experience, who's performed well, who's garnered accolades throughout the year, but who also comes away with a sense of growth as a person and maturity that they can kind of take into the world after athletics and help them to get a job and help them to be successful in their career and whatever else they're doing. I think in addition to that, seeing that personal growth is just seeing the growth of the team together. And track and field, I think sometimes it tends to be a very individual sport. But I think what really separates the teams that do well as a team versus teams that have individuals that do well are the teams that really come together and bond, and the teams that are really willing to sacrifice things personally on a personal level for their team, knowing that team is bigger than them and more important than just them. And for me personally, that's something that I'm really looking for this year in this program is kind of returning to that team atmosphere, and that everything that we do is for the team more than ourselves, and that if we can do that, I think we're going to have a more successful finish at the conference championships because people are going to be more willing to push a little bit harder for someone else than they are for themselves.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm looking for to be successful this year.
Great. Well, thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right, be sure to edit that.